you want to follow the toolkit. And I tell homeschoolers this because I can say this as a fellow homeschooler. We love being able to chart our own path, do our own thing, be independent, make our own decisions, not with the NCAA. This is not the time.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Gretchen Rowe for the Demi Learning Show, and I am so excited to be here with my dear friend Natalie Mack. You've really arrived when you have a friend who's good enough to call you and say, "Hey, I got this thing. I want to talk to you about NCAA eligibility." And I had been scouring for probably a year looking for somebody who could have a conversation with me, and to find out it would be Natalie was just amazing. So by way of introduction, we're gonna talk about Military Homeschool Association, we're gonna talk about NCAA eligibility because Natalie is a wealth of information. Natalie, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself because your credentials are vast.
Oh gosh, this is so awesome. Thank you so much, Gretchen. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to talk about this. This is one of my favorite subjects. By happenstance, quite honestly, and so I'll tell you that story about our youngest daughter. But a military homeschooler, been homeschooling 23 plus years, retired Navy chaplain spouse, mom of five. So we have our last of five who's in 12th grade, going on to college in the fall. And the other four have finished college and in grad school or finished graduate school. So we have been on this homeschooling journey for a long time. We moved all over the world, as most military families do. And I wear a couple of hats in the homeschool community, and I love every hat that I do wear, and I'm super pro homeschooling. And so a couple of hats that I wear is I do work for HSLDA as the military outreach coordinator, as well as a high school educational resource specialist. I've been loving that job and connecting military families to all of the amazing resources HSLDA has, legal and our educational resources are phenomenal. So the other thing that I wear is I do have a homeschool consultation business that I do this type of thing under, and it's Natalie Mack LLC. And on socials, I'm homeschool Natalie Mack. And then I also have a nonprofit started October 2023. So this October will be 2 years. Hey, it's called Military Homeschoolers Association. And I have an amazing board supporting me. And we are just doing phenomenal things, including we launched a podcast called BASE, the number two, BASE Military Homeschooling. And things are really good, and I'm excited to be here to talk about this subject. And I'll tell you how I fell into this. Our youngest daughter, like I said, military family. We were overseas in Naples, Italy. Um, I always knew since she told us about age 7, she said, "Mom, I want to play Division One soccer." And I thought, "Oh, okay, great." Now I wasn't an athlete. My husband wasn't an athlete. So we were like, "Okay, Division One, okay, we'll figure that out later, right?" Age 7. What do you know? Well, she continued to bring this up and continued to do extremely well on the soccer field. And eventually we found ourselves because of military overseas in Naples, Italy. And the time came to now make try to my part as a parent, right? And this is what we'll talk about to you who have athletes, college bound athletes. My role is to facilitate this NCAA process to, just to come alongside her like we do as homeschooling moms with our children, their dreams and passions. And we're like, let's get it done, right? And so that was how I fell into this NCAA. It's because of our youngest daughter, Alexandra.
Well, and as you all can probably imagine, my husband would accurately describe Natalie as somebody who can thread a sewing machine while it's running. And we're kindred
Yeah,
spirits in that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we met a couple of years ago at an HSLDA function and fell in love with each other. So when
Yes.
Natalie said, "Hey, do
Yes,
you want
much
to talk
love.
about NCAA eligibility?" I was like, "Yes, yes, I do."
Yeah.
So God is always good. He always answers prayer. So
Yes,
Natalie, you've given me a wonderful resource, which I want all the parents who are online with us today, or maybe listening to this podcast afterwards, to know it will be in the show notes.
yeah,
It's gonna be homework for you. You're gonna need to read it carefully because there's a
correct.
lot of information. It's a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, and when Natalie shared it with me a month ago when we planned this talk, I read through it, but I've gone through it again today and I found so much more information. So I'm gonna say
Yes,
it'll be worth printing out and highlighting so that
Yes.
you know exactly what you're doing. So, Natalie,
Yes.
let's get into it. Where
Yes.
does a parent begin?
Wow. Well, like you said, literally, I want to refer everyone to that NCAA Eligibility Center. And I want to put a disclaimer out. They are the final authority. I am presenting partly from my experience and partly from what I know to be true and partly from my understanding of the toolkit and helping other families. But the toolkit is that's the disclaimer, right? The toolkit is the final say, not Natalie Mack. But having said that, the NCAA has an eligibility center. So you want to go to the eligibility center and you want to look for the homeschool toolkit, like you referenced. Um, you want to follow the toolkit. This is, and I tell homeschoolers this because I can say this as a fellow homeschooler. We love being able to chart our own path, do our own thing, be independent, make our own decisions, not with the NCAA. This is not the time if you want to be successful with assisting your college bound athlete. So follow the toolkit, download the toolkit, look, read the toolkit, read it again. Like Gretchen just said, you're going to read it a lot of times and then you can there's other resources out there. I'm a resource. There's a Facebook page that I will mention that's a resource. There's resources to help you. Matter of fact, the NCAA Eligibility Center even has a YouTube channel where they have done webinars and they do still live and you on the YouTube channel and you can watch the replay. So there's resources that didn't exist when we went through the process years ago.
So, where did you begin? How did you figure this out?
Well, through the resources that they had on the website back then, you all. And I was just figuring it out, and now I see the resources, and to me, it's a lot clearer. But there have been a few changes. Like there used to be a sliding scale where they would use SAT and GPA, and there was like a sliding scale. So if a student didn't have as high of a GPA, but their SAT or ACT was high, they could, it could kind of flex like that. But they've gotten rid of no SAT and ACT requirement, you all. So
Which I think is really
which is
interesting. I
yeah,
found that to be fascinating, and
yeah,
I didn't think that their GPA requirements were that strident.
right.
Division
Yeah,
1 is 2.3,
2.3.
Division 2 is 2.2, so
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so there's three divisions. So let me say a couple of things. And I don't want to scramble audience and be all over, but I want to say as we're talking about this, I want to make sure parents know NCAA eligibility is not admissions.
right.
They're
That's
totally
very,
two separate
very important to make that
yeah,
clear.
processes. Because I have had parents, we don't know what we don't know, and parents have said, "Oh, if we go through this process, then my child is playing in college." No. No, there's more to the process, but they will not be able to play in college if they don't stop at this process first. This
Right.
is the first process other than being prepared to play at the college level, but that's athletic. That's something you hopefully or your student
So
is
it's
at that
yes,
pace.
and to be
Yes,
able to
and
understand, you
exactly.
have to
Yeah,
have both these things.
exactly. So you got to go through this process, which is really the way the NCAA just ensures that athletes are academically sound to do well in
Mhm.
college. They aren't assessing a student's athletic ability at all. That's the coaches and the scouts' job. Um, and they are not assessing your academic ability to meet the admissions requirements for any particular college. That's up to you. That's up to the student. So that's why I say, it's a package. You have to still get accepted to whatever the university is you hope to play at D1, D2, or D3 and you got to go whatever the school's application process is. You need to meet it. So we circle back now to the SAT and ACT, where I know NCAA does not require the scores. There's no place to put the scores. But now that we're talking college admissions, and we got to talk it at the same time, you might need SAT and ACT for college, specifically, even if it's a test optional school, because don't count on getting 100% athletic scholarship to cover your students' complete full ride of college. It just hardly ever happens.
Right.
And so you're going to possibly need merit money from that school. And then to get merit money, You're going to need SAT and ACT most cases because most internal merit money from a university most of the time, even for test optional school for admissions, but for merit internal money, they often want to see test scores. So you're going to have to kind of be able to talk in three different lanes at the same time. And so that's why I caution families, don't get too excited. Don't let your athlete get too excited if they don't like taking these tests, because I don't know anybody who does. But
Well,
right?
and
But
we always recommend that learning to take an SAT and an ACT is a learned skill. So
yes,
don't
it's a learned
presume
skill.
one and done. You
Right.
need to financially
Excellent.
plan to take those tests at least 3 times.
At least, and start early, right?
Mhm.
Start early because it's all about test familiarity and being able to, decode the question.
Eh,
What are they really asking? Um, Not what it looks like, but it's something else, and it's a lot simpler, but you gotta be able to logically decode, but and that's a whole nother webinar, right? Talking about
Yeah, it
SAT and
it
ACT.
is, and actually, we do have a webinar that we did about a year ago that I'll include in the resources that does
Yes.
reference what you and I are talking about right now. I think the
Excellent.
important thing to recognize is you're not gonna be there overnight.
Right.
That's a
No.
learned skill, and,
Right.
the woman with whom I present this webinar at homeschool conferences knew of a family who got full ride scholarships for their twins
Mhm.
to Vanderbilt.
Uh-huh.
But what that mom did to prepare those kids is she
Mm.
got one of those big SAT books, took
Yes.
it apart, and they literally worked on questions every single day of their 4 years of high school. So
Yes.
walking
Yes.
in was not a scary experience, and I think
No.
that's a valuable thing to remember. Okay, so tell us now, not only did you do this when the information wasn't as clear as it is now, but you did it from Italy. So
Yes.
if you could do it from Italy, we ought to be able to do it on this side of the
Yeah.
pond, right?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. The other thing I want to say to Gretchen is that NCAA follows like the graduation laws of your state. So just make sure you're compliant with that because every state has different like homeschool laws, and if there's specific laws that they address graduation, then just kind of be sensitive to that. But I think most homeschoolers know to take
Sure.
a look at that. But yeah, those are the things that come like off the top. Those are the priorities that you really need to anchor. Follow that toolkit and make sure that you do everything it says and not anything differently. Don't do something that like,
Don't
for
make it up.
example yeah, don't make it up, right, don't make it up, exactly.
Well, as homeschoolers, we're used to innovating, but in
Yeah,
this instance, I don't think innovation is gonna serve you
you're
well. You've
that's what I
got
was
to
trying to
follow
say,
all the
exactly.
points that they
Right.
outline for you.
Yes, exactly, and we're so innovative, and I love us, but not in this case. They've told you what they want. The other thing is a lot of times families, like, struggle with, like, understanding what's, like, the process with this eligibility, and even going through the toolkit. That's why I say you're gonna have to go through and read it again, and then just take a deep breath. Don't get panicky about it because once you get through it, you're going to go, oh, I get that. Right. It's just right now it looks daunting. But again, just take your time, go through it. I even recommend for families who have, students who are athletes who have great potential, who have expressed some interest in continuing to play beyond high school at a university, at a Division 1 or Division 2 or Division 3. I tell parents the when they're young, start to like anticipate this process and get ahead of it, specifically like eighth grade. Download that toolkit, get familiar, so you kind of don't feel that stress is not
I
added
think
to
it's
what you
also
feel.
really important to recognize if your child is going to be a student athlete at a Division 1 or Division 2 school, they need
Right.
to understand how this process works. You can't
Yes.
just deliver them
Exactly.
to the school. So
Exactly.
they're going to
Mhm.
need to be as integrally involved with the process as you as the
Exactly.
parent are.
Exactly. There's a Division 1, 2, and 3. So the NCAA, all those divisions fall under. They are totally different paths per se. Division 1 and 2, that toolkit is really is what gonna help you get down that path. Division 3 doesn't have those requirement. The requirements for Division 3 literally fall to the Division 3 school. And so it's a little bit of a difference there. And so families have to really figure out early enough which path is the one they want. And what I mean by that is the way that typically I like to say is like Division 1 is athletics is like super important, right? And so that's for a student who is willing to like put their whole self into this whole 4 years that they're going to be playing athletically high, right? I mean, they just literally it's all about the sport, not all glory. It's a lot of work. And I tell parents, make sure you help your student understand what they are asking for, what they want to do, and that they're willing to commit that. And then you have the idea of this broken leg, right, test is that make sure that the school that you accept a scholarship from, right, a D1 or D2, make sure that it's a school that your student would love to still be at, even if they couldn't play the sport.
Very good point.
You
I think
know?
that makes a lot of difference.
Mhm.
One of
Mhm.
my, children's friends swam for a Division I school, which
Mhm.
shall remain nameless, but he found that the school itself was not the environment he wanted to be in. So he
Yes.
actually was able to transfer to a
Mhm.
Division I school in another part of the country,
Mhm.
but that's
Mhm.
hard work.
It's
You've
hard
gotta
work.
know what you're doing.
Right.
So
You're right.
it's
You're right.
important to, this is just one of many facets. You should be
Right.
visiting the campus and having conversations and doing those kinds of things as
Right.
your child is in high school.
Exactly, exactly. Because, things happen. Athletes get injured and they get injured to where they can't play anymore. And so you don't want that to happen, but it's also part of the conversation that you need to have is this school you want to be at? Like, do you see yourself here academically, right? And so it's really important. And then check the school and see what type of academic advisors they have. Our youngest daughter that played D1 was picked up to play at Liberty University. That was her number one choice to play at. She had gone to a college-bound camp at UNC Chapel Hill, which is the straight pathway to pro after college, right? For females for sure. Um, but it just the atmosphere she experienced during that week or two of summer camp was not what
Not what she
she
was
wanted.
looking
Mm-mm.
for. No.
And so she said, "Mom, I want to go to the summer bound, college bound athletic camp at Liberty." And so we literally were overseas and we
I was
came
gonna
back.
say, so you're
Yeah. Yeah.
orchestrating
Yeah.
this
Yes.
here
You're right.
while being in Naples.
Exactly. So
That's
we
kinda
came
crazy.
back for her to go to camp, help my parents, they thank God for parents, right, who are still here in the States, and they helped a lot and got her there, and then it was from that experience and also getting offered the opportunity, she was like, "Okay." So she was a starter all 4 years, was there one of their key players and loved soccer, but it was I mean, ice baths, imagine that. Like, you have to love the sport enough that you're gonna be tolerate ice baths, sitting in tubs of ice because it's good for your body, but it won't feel good. So you have to really love it. And you have to really realize that a lot of your time, if not most all of it, is going to be getting through your academics and the athletics. There's not a lot of time for anything else with D1. It really isn't. The schedule is grueling. The practice is grueling. The pace is grueling. You're on the road more than you're at campus. And that academic advisor can help you um, with your classes in terms of like at Liberty, and the academic advisor was able to secure their books, so because they didn't have time to go to bookstore, the academic advisor helped them with choosing classes that the professors were more willing to say, okay, you can take your test early or when you come back. Right? That kinda thing, and so find a school that has that type of, assistance to your athlete because they're gonna be really tied up, and so that's Division 1. Division 2 is like a balance, high athletics, high academics. You have a little bit more of your life back, And there's some other nuances, but I'm just going high level here. And then Division three is more about, the college experience, the academics, and then the athletics is just it falls in. But they're hard. The quality of play is high. I'm not minimizing it, but it's a different focus for your student.
It is. My youngest son, was recruited by Division One schools and
Okay.
really intended to swim in Division
Yes.
One. And
Yes.
at the end of his junior year, he said, this scale to
Yeah.
balance this scale is
Right.
not what I want anymore."
Right.
So I think
Right.
it's important for parents to understand you had a child from the age of 8 who said they wanted to play soccer.
It
I had
just
a child
yeah.
from the age of 6 who said they wanted to swim. But you have to hold those goals loosely because they may change their mind.
Yes, right. They may change their mind. And so I tell parents, if you think the student has a chance, is good enough and expresses a desire, or even if they don't, but you kind of know in your spirit, this child might want to play in college. Start the process, get a free account, right? And you can convert it, get a free account, and then start the process. It won't hurt anything. It's better. The reason I say that is the big piece of this process is something called core course worksheets. You probably saw that in that toolkit, right?
Yes.
We call them CCW, and that's the headache.
Yep.
That's the headache.
That's where I spent the majority of my
Yeah,
time reading
yeah,
today.
yeah.
And it's important that you as a parent understand, but it's equally important that your student
Right,
understands why
right,
you're making these kind of requirements
right.
necessary for
Oh
them.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you're right. You're right, Gretchen. Again, another thing I tell parents is this is their dream, right? And so
Yes.
you need to let them know this is your dream in order to get to a chance to fulfill your dream, to have success with what you say you want. This is the path we have to go on. This is not me as mommy, right? Or me as daddy, homeschool mom and dad saying, oh, yeah, do this, this, this. This is the process. And we're either in it together or we're not, right?
That's like a two-edged coin
Yeah.
because as homeschool families, we're used to that degree of wild independence that we
Yes.
chart our own course.
Yes.
And now you're gonna have to color in the lines,
Yes.
and that's a
Right.
different
I love
experience.
that. I love that. You got to color in the lines. That's great, Gretchen. Yep. Yeah, color in the lines. And they have to do the coloring. That's the other piece.
So let's talk a little bit about that color in the
Sure.
lines. I
Yes.
noticed that in a let's talk about Division 2, because
Okay.
that's kinda split in the middle. So in a
Yes.
Division 2 school, the requirements are 16 courses,
Yes.
and that is meted out as 3 years of English, 2 years of math, 2 years of science, 3 years of an extra English, math, or science,
Right.
then 2 years of social science, and 4 years of additional academics. So we're
Yes.
talking 16 courses
Right.
that your student has to complete according to the NCAA's eligibility requirements.
Right. They have to be college preparatory courses. Those they understand students are going to have way more than that because you have 4 years and you got to create a transcript, right? They don't care about the other stuff, right? And they give you 8 semesters from ninth grade. The clock starts ticking at ninth grade. So you got 8 semesters. By the beginning of your seventh semester, which is senior year, right?
Mhm.
You have to have completed 10 of those 16. They call it the 10-7. 10 of those 16. And it makes sense. It's because if you haven't, you're not going to. You don't have enough time. So they tell you this is the requirement, right? And so, and there's not a whole lot of difference between the requirements for D1 and D2, really. I mean, the 16 is going to stay the same, the 10-7, the 8 semesters from ninth grade, that type of thing, you know. But the number of credits change just a little bit per category. And the other thing I want to mention is there's this category that's like, I think it's called, what is it called? The like world religion,
Oh,
you know.
yes,
So I've had many of my fellow Christian homeschoolers ask, oh, well, they can't do Bible and all. And so really they are saying go for the, not necessarily where the courses, you know how, what do I want to say? Like, not courses that are doctrine. That's what they don't want. Right? It's more you can study religion, but it's not doctrinal, if that makes sense. And so just to help us understand. So yeah, and all the extras that we do are totally fine. Those will go on the transcript because you do have to submit a transcript and they tell you what they want on the transcript, which is pretty much what most transcripts have. And I know like HSLDA, for example, we have an online store for so families that, you don't even need to be a member. You can go and use the transcript service. There's plenty of other resources for transcripts. So just look and see, make sure that what they say they require, which is pretty common, you have on your transcript.
Well, I
There's no
love the
magic to
fact
it.
that the toolkit gave you an example of a
Yes, it
transcript.
gave you
This
an
is what it
example.
would look
Yeah.
like. So
And we
parents who
have
are
one we
sitting
had
here
to
going,
use.
I don't know
Yeah,
what that looks like.
right.
You'll find
It
that in
tells
the
you
toolkit.
exactly. And when we went through the process, Gretchen, we had to use their transcript template. We
Okay.
had to use it. They no longer mandate a transcript template of theirs, but they do tell you, like you said, what you need to follow. Yeah,
Sure. And they also give you two options for grading, which I thought was really interesting, either letter or numeric. You
exactly.
need to understand how they define the difference because I think that would be important as well.
Yeah, and be consistent.
Mhm.
So whichever way you grade, be consistent across, all of your courses. Um, the other thing that's really important is there's something that families don't often realize. So they're looking at these CCW, this requirement, the core course worksheet. What that means is all of those 16 core courses, um, each one of them has to have this worksheet filled out. And it tells you what, you need to use the one that they have. Don't create a CCW yourself. Use that one that they have, and they go through and they ask you certain things about each course, right? Um, one thing I would say is, say you have a student that's ninth grade and they finish ninth grade, get those CCWs done.
Sure, don't wait until they're a
No,
senior and you're trying to remember what they did 3 years ago. Remember what I
impossible.
had for breakfast
Impossible.
yesterday.
Talk about
So,
stress because we know, right?
yeah,
Fall of senior year, it's a lot of stress, not only on our students, but on us as parents because they're looking to us. I need this, this, this. I need this, this, this. And I need my transcript. I need my course description sometime. And now you're talking about CCWs and you're talking about how many CCWs are you talking about, right?
right, and you
So,
didn't abdicate that they became the only child in this process. I
right,
You've got other
right.
fish to fry,
You
so,
got
yeah.
right. You probably
That's
most
good
homeschoolers
that's
have
good
other.
advice.
Yeah,
Do them
most
at the
homeschoolers have
time.
other fish to fry. Exactly, right, other kids, right?
Yeah. Well, I
So
thought it was
yeah,
also interesting that they don't, you cannot use CLEP to
right,
qualify for course
right,
material, which
right.
that
They don't allow CLEP.
surprised me.
Yeah, yeah, they don't allow CLEP. Um, another thing that if you get panicky about this CCW, um, look at dual enrollment for your student because you don't have to complete a CCW for a dual enrollment course. You just request that transcript and it's sent directly to the NCAA. So it is a little easier if you have a student who, is able to do at that level, which ideally should because that's the whole point of the eligibility process is they're taking college prep courses. And so at a certain age, whenever your local community college allows, like it could be 16, right? 15 for it varies
And it
across the
depends on
country.
the state you're
Doesn't
in.
it? Yes,
Some states you can do dual enrollment and it costs you nothing except the book.
exactly. Right. I
So it's
know.
important for you to do your homework or have
Yes.
your
In advance.
student do the homework.
Yes, I know, that's what I advocate. Your student, help your student. And that's that transition from K through 8th as a homeschool parent and ninth through 12th. That difference is now you're starting to transfer responsibility, decision making, where you step into role of a mentor, a guidance, right? Versus we're gonna do, this. Now you're like, okay, this is what you need to do. What do you want to do within this and how you're going to get it done, right? And I'm here to help you, but I'm not driving the, what is it? The car anymore, right? You're really we're passing the keys over. Hopefully they've done driver's ed, right? You've been helping them become more independent. The other thing that I want to mention for families too is you're submitting this paperwork like we just suggested, ninth grade, 10th grade, all right. Um, don't expect to hear anything back from the NCAA once you submit. Like you submit all your CCWs for ninth, it's going to be quiet. All right. Don't panic, right? Because they will not process, evaluate, look at any of that paperwork. They will keep it until your student is on the institutional request list. It's called the IRL. And families don't know that. So how does your student get on the IRL? A coach that is interested, that's scouting your student, needs to request your student to be put on the IRL. Once
Now,
the
let's be clear, that's the
yes,
coach from the
that's the
college they're
coach.
interested in
Exactly.
matriculating at.
Right. You're right. It's not your high school or your homeschool soccer coach or it's the right, it's the school, the D1, D2, right? They have to request that. They are not, and that's just a request. That's not saying that they have chosen that you're not being offered anything. Your student's not being offered anything. It's just that saying that the couch is interested in your student, and then the NCAA then does the work. Because imagine like doing all that work and there's students that just may not have a coach that they may not get that opportunity. There's so many athletes that are phenomenal that this is a highly competitive process. So, it it doesn't, like I said, guarantee a lot of money because what happens is they have to share the coach at us at the college has to say, well, we still have these sophomore, juniors, and seniors that are on scholarship. And then we have our incoming freshmen. So we have to divvy up how many incoming freshmen that we are going to accept, how much money we can give. And they allocate percentage wise based on that. And it's not apples to apples. You don't always know. They don't tell you how. You could get 20%, you could get 40%. You won't get 100%.
So I think it's important for parents to recognize that you're really gonna spin with your student 3 plates. You're gonna spin
Yes.
the plate of academics. You're gonna
Yes.
spin the plate of exploration of where they might be able to matriculate and play.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then you're gonna spin the plate of what NCAA requires them to complete to be
Yep.
eligible for that plate of
Right.
play. So, Natalie, in these last couple of minutes, what would you have as closing words for our audience?
Yeah, just, for those my heart goes out to the families who really get really afraid and they really pivot back to public
It's
school. And
not
I
scary,
mean,
it's just
yeah.
work.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just work. It's just work. And you can do it. So many athletes are doing it. And I really know that if you just follow the toolkit and, like I said, reach out for help,
Well, Natalie,
you can get
you
it
did
done.
this with your daughter, so Paul
Yes.
Harvey us. Give us the rest of the story as far as her experiences. Was playing college soccer what she anticipated it to be?
Playing college soccer was all encompassing, and it was what she wanted because she loves soccer, and she still plays now to this day. Um, so yes, but it was a lot of pressure, and not from us, like, just probably more from her. Athletes who really love a high level of play, they're hard on themselves, right? And so she was like, oh, I know I could do better and do better, not in a dysfunctional way. She just could figure out she knew what her capacity was and everything. And so now she plays for fun, even though it counts if her team wins or not, right? And so, but she plays for fun. And so it's a different level. I know after she finished and graduated, and so she finished with being the Big South, one of the VIPs for the Big South Conference. So that was super exciting. Um, and we were able to be back in the States for the last, 2 years of her junior, senior year, so we were able to travel and see some of the games, so that was super awesome. But then she did get an opportunity to play, she got scouted for an opportunity in Verona, Italy, and so she did go back over. She was a first player that this team was going to have, and they didn't really do their homework, so she didn't get to play, but she did have an amazing experience over there. And so we did learn a little bit about that post college, playing field and all, and some things that I would say that if you have an athlete who wants to play professionally, not all D1s are the same. Not all
Correct.
D1s are the same,
That
and
is
you have
we
to look
found
at
that
that.
to be our
Mhm.
experience with
Yeah,
my
not all
son who was
D1s
in
lead to
DR.
that path and everything. So, will we have done something differently? No, she Liberty fit her in a lot of ways. Again, that broken leg. So you have to figure that out. Would have UNC Chapel Hill? It probably would have led her to the pro that she really thought she wanted. But would she have been happy there? So, God knows. God knows.
Yes.
God knows. Yeah.
And I
And
love
so
the
it was
fact
good.
that you recognized that that was her goal and her dream. Sometimes
Yes.
as parents, we sort of get it a little confused,
Yes. It's
we
fluid.
want it so much for our children
Yeah.
that
Yes.
we're gonna move heaven and earth to make it happen, and,
Yes.
it's
Exactly.
it's a
We had
collaborative
It's a
experience.
collaborative experience. We had our sons after, and one or two of them were like, "Oh, mom, I know you want us to play in college." I said, "No, if you want to play in college, I know we need to start at us early, right? But no, this is not my dream." And so they were like, "Oh, okay." So they just were able to play through high school, and it was totally fine. It was just her dream. And so recognizing each child that you have is totally different, right?
Right. I'm gonna recommend one more resource we're gonna include in the notes, and that is how do you know that that it's your child's dream and not yours? And I read
Yes.
a book this spring that really still rolls around in my mind. It's by Jennifer Breheny Wallace, and the book title is Never Enough.
Oh, wow.
And it's talking about the achievement culture we have created and being careful to recognize where our desire for our students' success ends and where they really embrace that desire for their own. And I think this
Exactly.
would be a good thing for parents to recognize and acknowledge in this process because it's
Right.
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yes. Yeah. It's worthy and it's good, but they have to drive it. They have to go for it.
Absolutely. Natalie, I want to thank you for spending this time with me today. Can you all see how valuable she is as a resource?
Oh, thank
I can't
you.
even begin to tell you how much I appreciate her. And the
Thank
fact
you.
that we've had this conversation, which so many parents are trying to unpack and figure out. Natalie's done a lot of homework here for y'all, and we're going to have great show notes. So don't forget to consult those. Thank you so much for being here today, my friend. I appreciate.
Yeah. Thank you, Gretchen. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk again soon. Take care.
Yeah.
And to all of you who joined us today, thank you for allowing us into your living rooms. We appreciate it so much and we don't take that lightly. We'll look forward to your joining us again soon. Take care, everyone.
Thanks again for joining us. We're glad to be a part of your educational community. You can help us grow our community even more by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the show wherever you may be hearing this. Don't forget that you can access the show notes and watch a recording at demilearning.com/show or on our YouTube channel. We'll see you again next time. Until then, keep building strong foundations for lifelong learning.